You have the use, exclusive use in your period, of a lovely sailing yacht that you couldn't otherwise afford. That's really the essence of it.
Do you dream to go cruising on a big boat but have only got a small boat budget? Or are you time poor and can't stand the idea of a boat sitting around not getting used? Well, you could be interested in a cruising syndicate. Let's take a look at how these work. Every year I go to boat shows, and every year it seems that we see the same people back again trying to work out how to get all the stars aligned to buy a big cruising cat and take a sabbatical. And unless you're retired or ready to retire, those plans often get pushed back. But even when you are retired, you may not want to go it alone. You might have other family distractions and commitments that pull you away, and owning a boat outright just doesn't make sense either. And that's where syndication does make a lot of sense. For over 20 years, we've been syndicating cruising catamarans. And in that time, we've probably syndicated about 20 boats. Now, there's some great commercial syndicate boat programs on offer out there, but the ones we put together are slightly different. They're more tailored for people who want to go cruising. They're smaller numbers, lower budgets, and very flexible to allow big cruising plans in the future. We're going to tell you how they work today. When forming a cruising syndicate, there are a number of important elements to consider. Number one, spec up the boat. Now, because there's a group buying the boat, there's no need to skimp on options. We really load these boats up with all the bells and whistles, so there's less debate too for members about what to include and what not to include. We option it up from the start. Number two, decide how many shares. From our experience, the fewer number of shares, the better. We go to a maximum of 6, but quite often people buy more than one share, so we might end up as few as 3. 3 is a fantastic number, but there might be a mix of shares, a third, a couple of 6 shares, and so on. But a smaller group with lower administration and fewer decisions makes it easier. Number 3, determine a yearly budget. So this is where you decide where the boat's going to be kept, in a marina, on a swing mooring, the anti-fouling, the slipping costs, the yearly maintenance and detailing, and a general maintenance fund for unexpected repairs and upkeep for the boat. Tally that together and divide it by the number of shares. Still a very manageable number. Number 4, decide on a booking system. Now, with our syndicates, we plan out at least a year in advance. So everyone knows well in advance of time when their allocated period will be on board their boat. So they can mark in their own personal calendars when boat time is, and not to book anything else in those periods. You can also swap amongst members. But the important facet here is that it's pre-booked time. Now, depending on how you run the syndicate, you may have shorter allocated times in a place like Sydney Harbour, where it might be week about time allocations. But if the boat goes to the Whitsundays, you might group some of those weeks together. So you might have 2 up to 4 weeks on the boat in one given outing. Number 5, agree on a set of bylaws. And this is really important. We've, over a number of years, put together a set of bylaws that form the basis of the syndicate and the operations of that syndicate. And it covers issues such as insurance, the maintenance schedule, the time allocation, and also what happens in the case of a repair or breakage on the boat, how the insurance is worked out, and other important things such as an exit strategy for individuals who might want to sell their share, or the whole boat in, say, 5 years when it's sold collectively. It's quite common that shares come up on the market, and as a brokerage firm, we're often selling shares second-hand. So it's not a big deal to come in and out and sell your share as you might do a normal boat. But it's important to have those rules written down that everyone agrees to, so it's clear and there's no arguments. Step 6, go to market and find the shareholders. Now this is where a good broker can help, as they can advertise through all their marketing channels, but also help vet people that are suited to one another or the common interests in that form of syndicate. It's also important to get a commitment in to help place an order so there's something clear to aim towards. So we're not talking about a hypothetical boat. There's a boat with a deadline that will be in the water at a certain location with a certain spec. So putting a financial commitment down helps make that happen. Number 7, implement the maintenance schedule. So it's important to elect a secretary who helps the administration and also scheduling of any maintenance that needs to be done on the vessel. That secretary will simply take note through the boat's log and any other important communication amongst the group, jobs that need to be done to the boat. And it pays to have a reliable contractor that you can refer that work straight out to and get the work done immediately. Number 8, of course, enjoy the boat and go big. There is nothing a good syndicate can't do. We've had boats that have started here in Sydney Harbour, explored the east coast of Australia and eventually out into the South Pacific. So if you cooperate, work together, there's nothing you can't do on the boat. Today we've got a special guest. We speak to Hugh Hodgkinson, who's about to join one of our new syndicates on a Seawind 1190 Sport. And Hugh's been part of some very exciting syndicates in the past. We want to get his view on how they can work for a cruising boat.
I have seldom not been in a partnership of some sort ever since the age of about 25. We've had trailer sailors and then ocean racing keelboats, big powerful American motor launches, and more recently a lovely Australian designed 45-foot cat, which was a formal syndicate as opposed to the others which have been partnerships. You can take your own friends out, you can take out other syndicate members, you become very close to the other syndicate members and get to know them pretty well. Size, quality, luxury, enjoyment of my sailing. You know, I've had a big cat, I understand the attraction of them. They're a fantastic trans-ocean way to get about. And so I don't want to spend the amount of money that would be required to buy a new 45-foot cat by myself, and a syndicate of people that perhaps is introduced to go to each other by someone like yourself, the dealer, to me is an obvious way to go. We had a fantastic experience with that, and that's why I'm getting into it again. We would do massive trips in North Queensland and return, or go to Lord Howe Island and New Caledonia, Vanuatu twice, and it was being retired, we could afford to put that amount of time into it. If something goes wrong with the boat, as always happens, a sheet breaks or something like that, it's up to the person to whom that happened to fix it before the boat is handed over at the end of his charter. I love racing, I love going a little bit faster than the boat beside me. That's why I'm looking at the 1190 Sport, and I hope that at least for the first couple of years the boat will be raced on Pittwater, which is my home base, even though I sail on the harbour a lot as well. And I can see the boat, at least in the first 2 years, being used for club racing on Pittwater with weekend social use on top of that. The club racing is twilighting on Monday nights and Friday nights.
If you'd be interested in joining a syndicate, we have some very exciting syndicate programs coming up in Australia with boats located in Hamilton Island, Pittwater, Sydney and other locations. If you'd like to learn more, simply click here and download the details. Or if you'd like to get in contact, email sales@multihullcentral.com or simply visit www.multihullcentral.com.